I'm talking to Richard King from the Open Rights Group here at MozFest 2014. Richard, tell us first of all what the Open Rights Group exists to do.
So the Open Rights Group is a digital rights organisation. So by digital rights, we kind of mean human rights, but as they apply to our life, as it's increasingly online and on the web and digitised. So the Open Rights Group is concerned about things like your personal privacy online and freedom of expression. We campaign for things like copyright reform to make sure that people who are doing things like remixing and sharing and creating works aren't necessarily disadvantaged by out-of-date copyright laws. We're campaigning on mass surveillance, so we're part of something called the Don't Spy on Us coalition to try and get reform of surveillance to improve people's privacy. And we're also looking into censorship.
Okay, now on those issues, we're here at a tech conference.
That's right.
What tech projects have you got to help with this?
Okay, so actually we have a really awesome community of technical volunteers who spend their time hacking on cool projects for the Open Rights Group. This year they made a website called blocked.org.uk. And you can go to that website and put in any URL, and it will then check for you whether that URL or that website is blocked by any of the internet service providers' content filters. So the content filters are things that the government is keen for internet service providers to offer, or even to set on by default.
And they don't have to, do they? They've just been advised to do so.
That's right. So the government has said to internet service providers that they should really be a bit more family friendly and provide tools to help families manage the content that they see online, and especially thinking of children and families who might struggle to control what their kids are doing online. And the government has said things like, wouldn't it be great if there was a magic button that you could press, just one switch to clean up the internet, and you could just let the good websites through and stop the bad websites.
So let's say I sign up to TalkTalk, Virgin, whoever, and this is on by default and I don't even know about it. Is that right?
You will know about it. So the government and the ISPs have developed a thing they call active choice, which when you first connect to an internet service provider, it will force you to a web page when you go onto the internet that will then say, do you want filtering? And it'll be yes, no, and yes is ticked by default. And then if you say yes, it will say what categories of website do you want to be blocked, and there are a few categories of website that are ticked by default, and there are a bunch more categories that you can select if you want to, and then if you say yes, then that'll be on. So you have to actively choose to switch that off.
Right. Now, the issue here is one of false positives, isn't it? What are the most absurd cases you've had of sites being blocked?
Okay, so there are issues of false positives and false negatives, and we have had some interesting stories. There are a few on our website at block.org.uk. We had an example of a feminist website called She Writes that was blocked on an ISP, and they were concerned that the issue of feminism is an issue that concerns all people, especially women and men as well, of all ages. There was no age-inappropriate content on that website, but for some reason feminism blogs and sexual health blogs and things like that are specific, they're particularly vulnerable to mistakes that these filters make, and they make a lot of mistakes because they talk about maybe sexual health, and that could be confused with the same kind of language that are used on sites that have pornography on them, for example. So there was a mistake made, it was blocked, but they didn't know it was blocked particularly. It was difficult for them to find out. Once they did find out, they had to go and talk to the internet service providers and persuade them that they shouldn't be blocked. Sometimes they are persuaded, and sometimes they're not.
Okay, and what else are you doing in terms of internet freedom?
There are a bunch of other campaigns. I mentioned a few of them earlier. The technical project side of things is really interesting at the moment. We held a hack day at another Mozilla premises in London a couple of weeks ago, and there were some really great ideas from there. There was an idea of trying to build kind of a Kickstarter for elections to kind of solve maybe a bit of the problem with the voting system we have in the UK, the first past the post system, where people think, oh, that guy's going to get so many votes, it's not worth voting for her because my vote would just be wasted. But if there were lots of people, all who kind of made a pledge online in advance to say, I'll vote for this person, but only if another 10,000 people do, then perhaps that would give people a reason to vote for the candidate. There's an idea, I think, that Cory Doctorow, the activist, published in The Guardian, and so some people came to our hack day and thought, right, let's try and build this.
Okay.
So we're actually trying to build that site. That was really interesting.
Okay, how can people support you and also get involved?
So there are a bunch of different ways. I mean, the Open Rights Group is funded partly by its members, so you can come and join us by going to openrightsgroup.org/join, and people give typically between £5 and £10 a month. That just pays for us to be able to do our campaigns. Obviously, not everyone has money to give, so if you want to support in other ways, there are various ways you can get involved. If you're technical, people who are technical conference are, then you can go to our website and join our technical community. We have a mailing list and an IC. The best way to do that at the moment is to go to block.org.uk/get-involved, or there's just a link from the homepage. There's a bunch of different ways that you can get involved there.
Okay, Richard, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
This is Richard Hearing for Vision on TV, Plug and Play channel at the MozFest 2014.